send it out with the weekly report twice a year. Has a lot of information about, we strategically do it twice a year. And especially for newer residents and those coming back after the snowbirds come back. I mean, it
Again,
gives
if you
them
feel that
updates.
it's usable and needed, that's fine. I guess, again, just looking at our list is, do we have to keep doing everything we've done just because we've done it in the past?
I think it's
Good
good.
question.
I think it's good to question. I would say what thing that I've learned and different things keep reinforcing that our residents, our population turns over. 50% of our population turns over every 8 years. So we have no memory. I've got residents questioning me on some things that we've been doing for years. They just don't realize it. They've only moved here in the last year or two. And so now I'm having to spend time educating. So I think in some ways, any way that we can to communicate to our residents is
Kim and then
worthwhile.
Tom. Kim?
I would like to see us move toward having an app in the city so that we can, most of the people here do have cell phones. And if we can start, you know, at some point, if we could have an app and we could start pushing out notifications to people instead of communicating like a lot of, you know, because all of this has been happening for a while and still you have so many people who don't get the weekly reporter, and they don't want to. I mean, it's not, it's just one more thing to read, but if something's going on or something's happening and you can actually push a notification to them and it comes up on their phone, it's a better way to communicate. I mean, it's just more technology.
Tom?
Yeah, I agree with the app, but also, once the format has been established for the City Always newsletter, it's not, I don't believe it's a huge task to update it on the timeframe that we update it, so I don't really have an issue with keeping it.
What do you think, Howard, as far as staff time? Is it,
Oh, there is staff time involved. Each department submits articles, and then Julie Ryan from our urban design staff puts it together in her PowerPoint, not PowerPoint, her publisher, edits it, we send it out, we review it.
when it's on the city website, is there any metric to see how many people open it, look at it, read it?
Yep.
Is there?
We have metrics on our
Can we-
Google Analytics.
Can we review that to see if?
Well, you also send it out with your weekly
Right,
report.
we do.
So,
Again, I
mean, we're not
raised
gonna-
it because, I would just like for staff to think about, are there things that we don't have to do,
Right.
continue to do? Or if there's a
Streamline.
different way of doing it, like an app.
Can we
And
leave
it
it at that?
Yes,
Thank
Howard,
you.
you can assess that.
And maybe it's other things. Just making your comment, are there things that we're doing that we really, that the staff feels like, you know, we're just keep doing it because we've always done it this way, instead of saying, hey.
well,
it's time to-"
we do that internally quite a bit.
Okay.
The newsletter, on the other hand, that was a specific request, maybe 7, 8 years ago to start that. Now, is that a long time?
But were you doing full weekly reports at that time?
Yes, we were. We've been doing weekly reports for 9.5 years.
Okay.
Because I see what Carolyn's getting at, but it seems like duplication of some sort, but,
Again, I would just like for
Okay.
staff to review that. We could move on.
okay. One other thing on this page, since we're in this section, is the civic involvement, the volunteer hours provided as service, city service, police and fire. I would like to see that expanded because we have code volunteers that do code enforcement. We have the Green Thumbs even, they help with city beautification. I mean, that really is civic involvement. So just to limit those numbers to police and fire, I think, doesn't paint the full picture of, oh, we have that there? Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to combine that too and make it one total bang for our buck.
You
You
want
have
to combine?
code?
You want to combine the two?
Yes.
We can combine the
I
two.
think we should,
For what purpose?
just so it, the numbers really reflect.
So the number looks bigger.
And we have code enforcement, we have code enforcement
We
as
do.
well.
We do.
Is that included?
Probably not, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
That was my only other suggestion.
I just wanted to point Kim's attention to page 8, the under issues to be addressed to ensure sustainable infrastructure. The last bullet is apps
Good.
and moving to smartphone apps. We got that message loud and clear at Florida League of Cities, so.
Yes.
Okay,
So, again, do you want us to combine the two?
I would-
don't we want to look at the numbers separately, so
We
we see
can.
where the areas that the volunteer hours are coming from, and just look at it independently?
Yeah, so that we can thank the individuals or the groups. I think that would be appropriate.
Okay.
I'm good with it.
Thank you.
The way it is, thanks.
Any other comments on the strategic plan?
I'd like to move approval of the
Second.
strategic plan.
So we have a motion, a second, to include some of the changes, which would be,
I have the city properties for sale, we'll put that as an action item. I have the business development plan as an action item.
yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, next we will move into new business. Is everybody still okay?
Break would be nice.
Break would be nice? Okay. We're going to take a 5-minute break, so 10:11. Thank you. Next, we're going to move into ranking and selection of a lobbyist, but first I'd like Marion just to give a quick, brief procedural overview for everybody's benefit. Thank you.
Good morning, Marion Pace, Procurement Manager. The Selection Committee previously reviewed 5 submittals submitted on R2013-109 for lobbyists. They narrowed it down to a short list of 3. On the Evaluation and Selection Committee was Howard Koenig, City Manager, Tom Jackson, Utilities Director, and Dave Hilston, Urban Design Manager. The committee decided on 10 minutes max for the presentation to council, and then you have up to the full half hour of any questions and answers.
And you will be keeping time, correct?
And I will be keeping time, so you can just sit back and relax and enjoy the presentations. At the conclusion of the presentations, council members may discuss with each other any questions or anything they'd like to discuss. And you do have in front of you the score sheet where you'll number them 1, 2, and 3. After discussion, I'll collect those sheets, I'll tally up the scores, and present to you the final short list, and then go through as far as how you would like us to proceed as far as in contract negotiations. Presenting today, first will be Gray Robinson, second will be Buchanan, Ingersoll, Rooney, Fowler, White, Boggs, and the final presenter will be Capital Access. I'll present to you Gray Robinson.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mike Huey. I'm from Tallahassee. I'm an attorney with Gray Robinson. I have with me Jessica Love from our Tallahassee office and Todd Stibley from our Tallahassee office. Bert Saunders is part of this submittal. Bert had, at the time he scheduled this, he already had non-cancelable hotel arrangements and flight arrangements for his vacation. And so pretend like he's standing here with me. 10 minutes is a short time. You've already heard me talking. I was born in South Georgia, which means I talk rather slow sometimes. First of all, congratulations to you for the last 10 years of digging out of the hurricane recovery. I know that it flattened your community, and congratulations to you and your community. And I just read that you're now I guess, the second safest small community of your size. Third, I'm sorry. I moved you up a rank, by the way. But congratulations to you. We appreciate the opportunity. I guess we're the furthest outsiders to be here. Let me tell you a little bit about our team. Bert Saunders lives in Naples, is the city attorney for Marco Island, and is a former House and Senate member. I had the opportunity to represent clients before Bert in both the House and the Senate, and he is was an excellent legislator, an excellent consultant and advisor in this arena now. Jessica was a legislative analyst that in the private sector, and then she's been with me for 8 years, and she's turned into just a top-notch lobbyist on the ground, representing a variety of clients. Todd was formerly a chief policy advisor in the Senate President's office. I snatched him out of there about 11 years ago after I saw he was smarter than me. And since then, I've been relying on his smarts and taking a lot of credit for it. But both of these folks know the Capitol, the process, I think, better than almost anybody working in that arena. For myself, I was just a country lawyer in Tallahassee. Started practice there over 40 years ago, as you probably can tell. I got hooked on public policy in addition to trying lawsuits. So I'm one of those throwbacks that still does a little bit of everything, but have spent a lot of time in the public policy arena in state government. And in fact, for 40 years I've been doing that, representing a variety of public and private clientele. I do a lot of administrative litigation, do a lot of civil litigation. And let me tell you a little bit about our firm. Our firm is a unique law firm. We've got about 300 lawyers. We're based only in Florida. And it's one, I think, I'll go out on a limb and say it's the only major law firm in Florida that is totally immersed in the governmental arena. Our firm, Charlie Gray, was the county attorney for Orange County when Disney came in. We reared a speaker. Dean Cannon became speaker while he was a member of our firm, so we supported him all through that process. And clearly, you know what happens as soon as they become speaker, you are conflicted out, so he has to leave the firm, which is fine. But we've got city attorneys, we've got county attorneys, we've got former chief justices of the Supreme Court, we've got former appellate judges. We've got folks from all aspects of governmental service that work with us and for the firm. We're totally committed to be part of the political and public policy debate in Florida. All of our offices are totally engaged at the local level with their delegations. We have a huge firm PAC where we support candidates who are for good government. And we think all of our clients benefit from our total involvement in that regard, which makes really all of our offices and all the people in our offices constituents of a lot of legislators throughout the state. And I'm very proud of the record that we've created with the firm. Let me talk to you a minute about our relationships. We maintain relationships at all levels. Our former partner, Pete Antonacci, former state attorney, is now serving as general counsel to the governor's office. Former partner, Alan Windsor, is now solicitor general in the attorney general's office. And these folks go into public service and come back out of public service, come back to our firm. We've been fortunate that they come back to our firm after their public service. So we're totally integrated with government, with the working of government, and we have tremendous access, not an unfair access, but we have tremendous access and communication with all agencies, with the Attorney General's office, with the Governor's office. The incoming leadership for the House and the Senate are both from Melbourne and Orlando, two of our major office areas. In fact, the people in those offices pretty much reared the incoming president of the Senate, Andy Gardner, and the incoming Speaker of the House, Steve Christofoli. We're good friends with them. They totally support the communities they come from, but I can also vouch for both of those folks. They are quality folks. You're going to be pleased with what you get as they take over these next 2 years in the House and the Senate. We work very closely with them in the campaign cycles. We work very closely with them in public policy matters. all of the agencies. We have the unusual relationship with these agencies in that we work very closely with them, and we also represent clients who have differences with them. And it still works out fine because I think we handle those relationships well. But you can go to any agency in state government and ask them if they know Gray Robinson, and they're going to tell you yes, and they're not going to have anything bad to say about Gray Robinson. So we have excellent relationships there. Let me talk to you about our firm's approach briefly. First of all, we're strategists. I think that comes from being a law firm that is engaged in the process very closely. It comes from folks who are good advocates as well as good counselors. So first of all, we try not to let our clients get started in any wrong direction. And secondly, we are very tenacious once we decide what our plan is that we're going to accomplish it. And we've accomplished it over and over again through great odds sometimes. Our experience, we represent a number of cities. We represent the cities of Ocoee, Estero, Hollywood, Key West, Marco Island, Orlando, and Avita. We've had a great working relationship with the League of Cities. Scott Dudley, who's currently the League of Cities legislative director. I hired him as an intern. He worked for me for about 10 years. Really a good guy. We know most of the issues that face cities today. We know that there's increasing pressure between state government and local governments in the area of pensions, in the area of home rule, in the area of revenue sharing. We think we can address those areas very well for you. We're strategically located. We may not be from here, but we're from where all of this takes place. And we spend full time working on these issues and would love the opportunity to represent you, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Questions? Who wants to start? Carolyn?
First of all, thank you for responding to our RFP.
Well, thank you.
Very appreciative. And your team's relationship with the Florida League of Cities, obviously that helps all of our municipalities, and also appreciate that. I know from the material that you submitted that your focus as a firm appears to be on healthcare and environmental preservation issues. However, in 2014, your firm secured $50 million, at least this was within your documentation, $50 million for the Florida Keys wastewater treatment plant in Monroe County. And that was in addition to a 2012 authorization of $30 million for Monroe County's wastewater collection and treatment facilities. The village of Isla Mirada, also in the Keys, received $20 million, also for a water project. And I assume that you're aware that the city of Punta Gorda received a most appreciated appropriation of $900,000 for our RO plant. Our request for the state support, however, was $7 million. So just a quarter of what our project will cost. And obviously, our concern for our obtaining funding is to reduce the fees for our water users. My question is, with municipalities and counties competing for the limited dollars that might be available at the state, how do you resolve the potential conflict of interest? And how would you have been able to advocate for our project when you have so many concerns in other water projects that you're also advocating for?
Well, obviously, we can't predict in advance what our clients' needs are going to be. I can only tell you when we come to a situation where we see that there can be either the appearance of an issue of whether we're going to speak for one or speak for the other, we're the first ones to recognize it. And we're going to bring it to you and say, here's where we are, and we've got to solve this. But clearly, if you're going to be in this business, just like if you're going to be in a large law firm, you're going to have clients that sometimes run into each other. You do everything that you can to avoid it. But I think everybody in this business, and you've got some other great presenters, they're going to be in the same position. They represent a lot of folks that at some point in time may hit an intersection where they have to work something out. I can only tell you, historically, we work those things out to the satisfaction of our clients.
How would you have helped us obtain our $7 million, again competing with the other monies that you're getting from your other clients? See, I don't understand how you can advocate on our behalf if you are advocating for them at the same time.
Well, I mean, there's a pot of money that everybody is trying to get some of, okay? And believe me, I see people up there every day advocating to representing different public entities, trying to get different amounts of monies out of the same pot. But I think it's obligatory on anybody who's doing this to advise you if they do have that situation, and to let you make the decision on whether or not you're comfortable that we can successfully do that or not, as well as the other client make that decision. And if they're not, then we'd have to come to some resolution of that.
What would your resolution have been?
Well, and again, I was not involved directly in your issue or the other issue, so I don't know the specifics of how much monies were available, how they were allocated. So I can't tell you exactly how I would have handled it, other than we would have immediately involved ourselves in talking to you, tell you how the process worked, and if there was a potential that we were going to have to choose between one or the other, or if we were going to be possibly taking money out of your pocket to give to the other client or vice versa, then we would obviously have to address that, just like we do in the law practice. I was on a call yesterday, same issue. We had an issue nobody could have foreseen that came up, and we had to address it. We agreed to go to the clients and address it. But I can tell you, those are few and far between. Yes, ma'am.
Our immediate concern is dealing with the water management district. So do you have experience with that, and how would your lobbying firm assist us in those struggles, the immediate struggles that we have?
I represented Clewiston in a big water management district issue with the sugar industry not long ago, and it was a 2 or 3 year fight. And we have one of my partners is a member of the North Florida Water Management District. So we do have experience with water management districts and DEP. Have very good working relationships with DEP. In terms of your water management district, I can't tell you that I have direct working relationships with them. I'm almost positive that Bert does.
Thank you. Tom?
Is there any conflict with having one of your members on the water management district?
In a separate water management district?
Yeah.
Actually, he's resigned when he went on as general counsel. When he went on as general counsel for the governor, he resigned from the water management district. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Kim?
I like what you were saying, how you have reared up a few, legislators, because we're, I think, in that position that this would really, we had a lobbyist for the first time, and so we're really new at this. So we do have some immediate things that we want, but I personally would be looking to our lobbyists to help us in other areas and kind of direct us on things that we might not even know about. We're new at this, so how do you approach that type of thing?
Well, I've had the experience of representing several clients who it was their first venture into the deep end of the pool, and I think we're very good at it. I serve as general counsel for several different organizations where I kind of sit as part of a in a strategic role, am very comfortable in that role. So I think we could do a lot in terms of laying out the ground or the scene on the ground for you and the process, and help you understand kind of what's going on, help you understand where the ticklish parts are in terms of either leadership's views versus what you're seeking or what have you, so that you don't spend time going down an area that or going down a road that's a dead end if we know it's going to be a dead end, as well as if sometimes there are things that you want now, but in this process it may take us 2 or 3 sessions to get you there, because it is an education process. If you look at the number of bills that are filed and the number of bills that are passed, it is an infinitesimally small group of bills that make it through the process, because the process is designed to kill off most things. I will tell you, the budget is coming back. It's going to be a bigger budget next year. So from an appropriation side of the equation, your picture should be brighter. I will also tell you, you're going to be dealing with a Republican-controlled legislature. We don't know from the governor's office which way it's going to be controlled. But the legislature writes the budget, and they are very conservative, more conservative than I've seen them in a long time. And they don't have the best relationships right now with local government, it seems. So you're wise to be hiring somebody, and I think it's just a matter of getting your priorities set and get a plan, and then go create the relationships in order to effectuate that plan.
Just as a follow-up, so would you get to, familiarize yourself with our community and what our needs are? I mean, there may be funding available for things that we're already doing that we don't know that, and we would kind of look to you to help us with that and say.
Absolutely, and that's one area that Bert would be particularly valuable, being part of a local government. He would be particularly valuable in understanding what all programs are out there. The same for the city attorney, our city attorney in Orlando, Mayanne Downs, who's a former Florida Bar president. I mean, we call on all of those resources in terms of saying, okay, what can we do to help this client, this community?
Nancy?
Yeah, I was thinking along the same lines as Kim. Can you give me an example of a community where you've, a small community where you've gone in and you've identified, hey, you're not looking at this, you need to be thinking in these terms, and how that outcome helped that community?
Well, there were, I know in Key West, for a couple of years, they were attempting to bring a ship down there, and they had one approach to it. We got involved with them, turned the approach completely around, and 2 years later we had the funding, brought the ship down there, and got it in place. First thing comes off my head today. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And how would you say that the small city of Punta Gorda would not get lost in the Gray Robinson world out there?
There's size doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm from Leesburg, Florida. I went to high school in Leesburg, and I cherish small cities. I wish Tallahassee was smaller. Size does not matter to us. If you're a client, we're going to work just as hard for you. Some people, it's our job, regardless of what you're paying us to do a job. okay? Would we like you to pay us more if we get hired? Yeah, we would, just like everybody else would. But the fact of the matter is, we're going to work just as hard for you as we do anybody else.
Questions?
Maybe, again, as a follow-up, what legislative initiatives do you anticipate coming down this next session that might impact our city?
Well, I think you're going to see this communication services tax issue come back up, which has a revenue impact on you. I think Dorothy Huckel had that bill. Dorothy is, we work very closely with Dorothy, have a very good working relationship with her. It did not pass last year. I think it will come back up. The whole pension issue, and I know you have a firefighter and police pension plan. It's still going to be part of the debate. I know the League of Cities is still working on that issue, and I know it seems like they had a plan last year that might not have fit your needs, and certainly we're not hamstrung to them, and I think Scott will tell you how hard we will fight if we have to fight against them. But I know those two issues are going to be back on the radar screen.
Any other questions? Nope.
Who is the person, is Bert Saunders the person that we will be working with?
You'll work with all four of us. Bert, because of the logistics, will be the closest one to work with you. But we work as a team. We really do. We don't just say that. But Bert would be the logical one to work with you. He's familiar. He represents Lee County. He would be the most logical day-to-day contact. If that, for any reason, doesn't work, then you could put up with me.
The other two firms that we will be interviewing has the person that we will be working with here. On this dais right here, I think there's only one person who knows Bert and has worked with Bert over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So the people who are going to making the decision, I probably have never met him. So I think you need to spend a minute discussing Mr. Saunders, because I think I'm the only one here that has worked with him for a long time.
I probably did not understand that. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. And I only say Bert because, again, of logistics, since he's in Naples. But Bert is outstanding lawyer, city attorney for Marco, very well recognized in the Capitol as a former House member, former senator. He was chairman of the Environmental Regulatory Regulation Committee in the Senate. Low-key guy that stays moving forward all the time. He just is a solid citizen worker, lobbyist and lawyer. And like I say, I apologize that he couldn't be here. And I will tell you, we will be in the representation up to our necks ourselves. I will be very much, I don't come and make a presentation if I'm not going to be involved in it. And that's not the way we do things. We don't show up and leave you with somebody else. And I know any of you have had done work with law firms in the past. Sometimes you've run into talking to one person and somebody else does the work. We don't do that. So this team will be just as involved as Bert. Bert is closer to you, and if you need somebody to show up for a meeting or what have you, Bert would be the first call. If Bert, for any reason, couldn't make it, I would be here, and if needed, the rest of the team would be here.
Carolyn?
What process do you use in terms of preparation of documentation, factual information that, again, would be used to make our case in Tallahassee?
Well, we put the obligation on the client to give us the information we need. We typically, you know, operationally what you need, either through yourselves or through your staff, and we will take a look at that, and then we will evaluate: is that something, A, that we think we can work with, or B, does it need to be reformatted? Do we need to restate it? What have you? Obviously, in advocacy, there is presentation has a whole lot to do with it, and believe me, I've been rearranging everything from expert reports in litigation to legislative committee presentations to what have you. The main thing is to have a message that can be conveyed in as few words as possible, and to then have some key advocates to help push that message through the process. But yeah, we'll look at and we'll go through the details, because we do not ever want to get caught trying to push something that we don't know what it's doing, what it is.
Any other questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Chairs in the conference room are awful comfortable. Maybe they're comfortable where they're sitting.
Are they not in the drawing room then?
No,
They won't be
we put them
listening.
in my office.
They want to? They want to be out of the room? Because they didn't have to, did they?
What do you mean? The interviews?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Typically,
They've
it's professional courtesy is they're not in the room when they do the professional courtesy.
But they could be.
They want
They could be.
in the room.
It could be.
Absolutely.
They could be,
Yeah.
but
You all want to come speak on this side? Or you can just
Wherever you
go.
want us.
Well,
That's
if
fine.
someone wants to go through it, your PDF.
Oh,
It's
okay.
gonna be controlled over his. This would be the prime one speaking.
Brad and John.
Yeah.
So Jerry's gonna just come up and hush them.
Okay.
Do your presentation, question and answer, 10 minutes max.
Probably a little bit
Presentation.
we can control that.
30 minutes.
Thank you, Marion.
Okay.
The next firm to present is Buchanan, Ingersoll, and Rooney, Fowler, White, and Boggs.
Well, good morning. I think it's still morning, and thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to present to you today. We represent the combined firm of of Buchanan, Ingersoll, Rooney, Fowler White Boggs, as well as our joint venture partners here, Peoples and Smith. For the record, my name is Keith Arnold. I live just down the road in the Fort Myers office of Buchanan, Ingersoll. And we're a law firm that is presenting to you today along with our partners. We're based out of Pittsburgh. More recently, they acquired Fowler White out of Tampa, a firm that I've been with, and it's been a dominant law firm here in the state of Florida for the last 75 years. We have offices from New York to Miami, and we're very, very appreciative of the staff ranking. And what I would like to do to you today, or do with you today, is walk through a presentation, let you know some of the people who are involved with the firm and who will be representing you should you choose to select us as your representatives in Tallahassee, as well talk about some of the issues you faced, historically continue to face in Tallahassee, and then some of the new issues I think you may be addressing in the future. Before I do that, let me introduce two members of our team who are here. Brett Bacot is with Buchanan Ingersoll and works out of the Tallahassee office of Buchanan. And then John Smith is with Peoples and Smith and is our partner or joint venture partner in this presentation. And so we will be the principal contacts on this contract should you select us. And we do handle the preponderance of local government issues for both of our respective firms. First of all, when you hire this combined firm, you get everybody in the firm. You get those people in Tallahassee who are household names in the industries, people like Max Stepanovich, an iconic figure in Tallahassee who is also the former Chief of Staff for Governor Bob Martinez. You get Linda Shelley, Chief of Staff for former Governor Lawton Chiles. She was former Secretary of the Department of Community Affairs. You get Jake Varn, who was a former Secretary of the Department of Transportation, former Secretary of the Department of Environmental Regulation, as well as Bob Butterworth, a former Attorney General, former Sheriff, former Judge, former everything, it seems, in Broward County. All of us work on local government issues, and we care very deeply about the issues you face. I've been a lobbyist in Tallahassee for 16 years. Prior to that, I was a legislator in Fort Myers for 16 years. And in all those years, in those 32 years, local government issues have been at the heart of what I try to promote individually and what we try to promote collectively as lobbyists in Tallahassee. Of note, both of our firms, both Buchanan Ingersoll as well as Peoples Smith, are principal firms hired by the Florida League of Cities to work on their issues generally. We take a fairly high-profile role in the large, very dominant issues in any one given session. Most notably and most recently, we led the effort on municipal pension reform, working with the League to try to tee up that issue, an issue which will be discussed in detail in the 2015 legislative session. I'm not going to go through the presentation that we handed out to you page by page, but if you do flip to page 7, you will see the legislative successes that we had this year in 2014 along an appropriations line. Appropriations is a dominant area in which we work in Tallahassee. We're pretty familiar with most of the issues, the fiscal issues that local governments face, dealing with water and sewer issues, stormwater issues, parks and recreations, et cetera. I noted in your hearing this morning, you have issues surrounding Lashley Park, Veterans Park, and these are appropriate venues for FERDAP grants. They're appropriate venues for community affairs grants, Florida Communities Trust grants. There's a variety of opportunities for you to pursue some additional funding in Tallahassee relative to those. And of course, being from Fort Myers, I'm keenly familiar with your stormwater issues that you have here in downtown Punta Gorda. They're pretty much the same that we face in Fort Myers, where we have a historic downtown and a flood-prone area. And stormwater protection is an area that we deal quite a bit in, It's an area that we represent Fort Myers Beach and other municipalities on, and one that I would enjoy talking to you about as well. The last issue from your perspective that I'll talk about before I transition this to John Smith is your desire to build a RO plant. You've got a very, very expensive plant that you're looking at building, one that costs approximately $28 million. If you look down the list of these appropriations that we successfully worked on this year, we have a very deep and extensive amount of experience in water, wastewater, utility projects generally. I would encourage you to think out of the box on this. That's a big bite for a small city. One of the resources that I would propose that we bring to the table for you is some of the partners we deal with in utility areas. It is possible to build this facility without putting the entire debt on your balance sheet. And I think that's something that perhaps your city attorney and others in the Public Works Department may be interested in. To the extent you can carry the entire debt of the facility on your own balance sheet, certainly we can work with you. There's plenty of funding available in the revolving loan trust fund right now in Tallahassee. They're looking for worthwhile water, wastewater, stormwater projects right now, and so you can get a low-interest loan. Certainly, we would be willing to work on an appropriations, and I think you would like to get 1/4 of that appropriated by the state of Florida, and that's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities. But I also believe there's other partners we can bring to the table to discuss this issue with you, which would allow for you either to have another company pay for it, another company build it, and another company lease it back to you with the right of first refusal. So there's a lot of different financing mechanisms out there right now as the economy has improved. A lot of financing companies looking for opportunities on these sort of things. John?
Good morning. My name is John Wayne Smith. That is my real name. I'm from North Carolina. Everybody has 2 first names in North Carolina. I was able to get down here last night and enjoy Cubby's, so if you haven't had any homemade ice cream, I encourage you to go there. Real quickly, because I've seen the tap for the 2-minute warning. I'm with Peoples and Smith. My partner is Bill Peoples. Our business model mission is to help local governments. 95% of what we do is work for cities, counties, special districts, MPOs, transit authorities, primarily to help you achieve your goals. And we do that in a big way by leveraging other resources so that it's not all on you. We help you develop that story, and we have a lot of success. We've been doing this, I've been doing it for 24 years, Bill's been doing it for 35. I know that you have lots of things that are on the table, and I will tell you up front that you have 3 great choices. You're not going to make a bad decision today. You have 3 credible firms, all who know the process. I just say there are a couple of intangibles because of the way that we focus and the way that we leverage. Because we work on statewide issues and because our client base is diverse throughout the state, it puts us in a position to have relationships with chairmen, with the leadership, with the staff. And at the end of the day, when it comes to working for Punta Gorda, those opportunities is what help position us and help position our clients for success in a very, very competitive process. So I think without her tapping me again, I'm probably getting close to that 10-minute warning. I can feel her in the background. So we're going to just stop there for a second and then see if y'all have any questions for us. You want to come back up? She hasn't even gotten up yet.
I'll start with the questions. Obviously, this appropriation summary is quite impressive. Are these ongoing water projects that you will continue? Because our thought process is to keep going every year until the project's completed. So can you kind of relate that to the funding that you've secured in our situation?
Sure. Number one, let me just say that $7 million in the process that we work is a relatively large ask. And you will see that many of the successes are anywhere from 1 to 2, and many in the hundreds of $1,000s range. So a lot of what we do is repetitive work. where we're going to leverage either what you've got from the revolving loan or maybe some grant from some other place. And so many of them are recurring requests. Some of them are not. You'll see one in Mayo where they're just getting started. Mayo is so small, and they have a stormwater issue and some flooding problems. They don't even know what to do yet. So they came to us in the middle of session, and we did this kind of as just a friendly, because they didn't have lobbying services, but they said, can you help us just get some dollars just to get an evaluation and assessment so that we can move forward? So there are lots of things that are on that sheet, and there's some that are as big as the Keys wastewater project, which has been a $200 million authorization, which over the last 3 years we've been able to get them $100 million. But that's a unique situation because they're an area of critical state concern, and they're under a consent order from the state to do certain things. So they've had to move forward and have some skin in the game, and then the state's kind of come in and kind of rewarded them for their efforts. So it's all of the above.
What is your experience dealing with water management districts?
Which one are we talking about? Yours?
Yes, specifically, yes.
Well, I will tell you in the world of water, and you join in, Keith, if I miss something, but in the world of water and wastewater, springs, probably the entire gamut of water issues, we've worked with our clients to kind of partner with the water management districts. Right now, because there is so much competition, there's basically, because of the recession we've had, there's a backlog of water-related infrastructure. So the legislature is not just looking for the lobbyists, but they're looking for some credible folks, some science-based folks to kind of help them select some of these projects and to know if the state's going to invest, how they're getting the biggest bang for their buck. So we've worked probably with at least 3 or 4 on a regular basis, just to help. You know, little city of Archer doesn't need to show up in the legislative process and never have talked to the Swanee River Water Management District. No one else should either. So that is a very important aspect of kind of moving yourself to the front, to have that support and to have them check that off. So our relationships are good because we encourage it. We don't really ever want to be on the other side. Now, we do have some clients, some counties that are actually split by water management districts, and that can create some interesting politics and some conflicts and some issues that have to be resolved. But for the most part, you know, we work well. We encourage the partnership there because there's a lot of times that they have resources to leverage and to assist in what we're trying to get out of the state as well. Anything else, Keith?
Yeah, Mayor Kiesling, I would say that it's absolutely critical that we work with the water management districts. If you look at one of those projects there's a $18 million funding issue for Lee County for the C-43 reservoir. That is specifically a project we worked on along with our partners with Lee County, our client, and the water management district for funding the C-43 reservoir. And if you recall, and I would think, you know, Charlotte's one of those counties that's split. You've got everything in the eastern portion of the county around Babcock Ranch flowing south to the Caloosahatchee, and so and then of course you're up here in Swift Mud, and so you do have 2 water management districts you have to deal with. That particular project does affect, you know, Lee, Henry, Charlotte, and the counties to the east. When that's all said and done, and listen, I don't want to debate the science of it. I have my doubts as to whether this is the best utilization of resources, but this is going to be a $500 million above-ground lake built between Lehigh Acres and LaBelle to pump water out of the Caloosahatchee, store it about 8 or 10 feet above the ground, and then clean it and repipe it back in. And we're talking about thousands of acres are getting ready to flood to do this. That's just the PD&E money, the $18 million to do the engineering. This is a massive project on Caloosahatchee River restoration. So we work extensively with the water management districts because we have to. And I think, candidly, you know, at least from a South Florida perspective, they're a good partner. Swift Mud's a very good entity to work with as well. I know you're going to have some permitting issues with them. Well, I think Peace River water main, we've dealt with them all, but you're going to have some issues. And I read your RO proposal. I think it's a great proposal, and it's far-sighted because we can no longer continue to take surface water in this state and provide the water that everybody needs. We have to have RO plants. And what you're doing will ensure the future of the city for a long, long time. The cost is significant up front. The ask is heavy, as John has said, but it's visionary, and there's ways to get it done because it's great science, number one. It's very good science, but you'll have some permitting issues there, and we'll walk with you through that.
Tom?
Yes, first of all, I'd like to thank you and compliment you for speaking to the specifics of Punta Gorda. On your, I'm curious, do you have a handle on the appropriations or the funding that you've recovered on page 7 that you pointed us to? Do you have an idea what percentage of the original request that you've been able to recover on these?
Far lower than we wanted.
Is it?
I don't know a percentage. That'd be a pretty tough
I
calculation
can
to
go
make.
through a couple of them, just if they want. Which one, do you want to look at the wastewater in particular?
Sure.
Or does it matter?
Just in general.
The city of Archer, it's a $14 million project, and that's a city of about 1,000 people. They have a gap of about $5 million, and they brought us in to help them get that gap. First thing that we did was to take them and have them look at the financial feasibility of the project. It's a lot for 1,000 people to have a $14 million. It's a great thing to want, but the first thing we did was to help them find some engineers that gave them a project that was financially feasible. So
What
that
is
was-
it, reuse, or what is it?
It was reuse, collection, treatment. It was the Cadillac Daddy, and it was City of Archer, and they needed to just start baby steps. They needed collection first, and then treatment, and then the other. So what we ended up doing is working with the chairman there, primarily in the House, is to talk to him about, can we get a 2 or a 3 year plan? Because they still had a gap of about $2.5 to $3 million based on what they were going to get a loan, and they qualified for a fiscally constrained grant as well. So we worked with them to reduce their numbers and to get them where their rate structure was going to be not out of whack and crazy. So at the end of the day, for Archer, we get about 1/4 for this year in a very competitive process. If you saw the appropriations list for this, it was almost 3.5 pages of different things. So that was about 1/4. Gainesville, that was a smaller ask, but that was the whole amount. So a lot of it comes down to the project and how much skin in the game the local government have and how much the gap is. Mayo was just a starter, like I said. Orlando was 100%. Kissimmee was 100% for the 500, but they have a bigger one that they're doing a partnership with Toho, and you can see that there's 2 separate appropriations. So that was a little, I don't want to say the wrong word, trick, but that was a way to break up between 2 clients for the same project. So we had 2 asks, and then basically ended up getting $2 million for one project. One ask was from the city of Kissimmee, and one was from the Water Authority. So it moves. That's a large project as well. We have about an $8 million ask, so we'll be coming back on that particular. That's a huge stormwater holding. It sounds a little bit like what Keith was just describing. And Winter Park was a hole. Tampa's are holes. And then and Keith spoke to the Lee County. So it kind of depends on the project, the size, the nature of the community. Sometimes when you get brought in, there's some prep work that you need to do, like in the case of Archer, before you go to the legislature, so you can make an ask with a straight face. So we work with our folks on every angle to make sure we're successful.
And Councilman Kavanaugh, that Lee County ask was 100% the $18 million, but as I said, that's PD&E, and that's a long way to go. We're working with the Corps of Engineers on that as well, so that'll be jointly funded between the state, the Water Management District, and the Corps, because as you know, they're under intense scrutiny, pressure to do things on the Caloosahatchee.
Carolyn?
You said that our ask at $7 million was high. What would you have recommended?
I don't, you have to look at the project. And if the project stands on its own and it's financially feasible, then I would not necessarily say that you ask for something different. What I think we would want to sit down with you, though, is to look at that $7 million gap and look at how are we allocating that ask. Are we doing anything at the federal level, or is there another number for the feds? 'Cause there's lots of ways to leverage in what I call a little category of other people's money. I mean, you have a budget that you build, and you got property taxes, and you got all these revenue sources. If you bring us on, we like to be that little category where you say other people's money to enhance how you do your budgeting. So I can't tell you without looking at the project that that's the wrong ask, because I think your project stands on its own. What we can help you do is to think strategically about how to ask, where, and are there other multiple pots. I think one thing I'll just tell you right now is, the whole BP oil spill, which happened 4 years ago. The Transocean settlement, those dollars are about to flow in the next 5 to 6 months. Charlotte County is one of the recipient counties as adjacent to the Gulf of Mexico, and I know some of the commissioners here in Charlotte County have been involved in the consortium. To me, knowing what the state's priorities are, I think water and wastewater are going to be one of the silos that they put money in. I don't know that there's enough in the early money that Punta Gorda wins, but over time, that's a secondary source that we sit down and talk about where the targets are that we should be looking at. That's one I think that Punta Gorda should look at, and we ought to sit down with the county and looking at their priorities in this region and see if we can't leverage that as well. So that's how we try to model and approach what our clients ask for or expect.
Councilwoman Freeland, if I could respond to that just briefly. $28 million, I mean, let's say that Howard and his team have already gone through all the value engineering on that and got it down to the Chevy and not the Cadillac RO plant. And let's say that's the true cost. At the end of the day, you're probably going to look to multiple sources to finance that. The revolving loan trust fund. The interest rate right now is 1.5% that the state would charge you on the revolving loan trust fund. As I said, we have partners that would come in and talk to you about potentially financing a good portion of this and/or buying it from you. They would be interested in buying this utility and leasing it back to you with rights of first refusal. We have other partners who would specifically and solely deal with the financing side of this from an investment banking side who may be interested in helping out. But you will pull from multiple buckets to ultimately fund this. And whether it's $7 million or 5.5 or 7.5, I don't know what the magic ask is either right now before the legislature. But I do know this, you as elected officials, and I've never been in local government, I was only in state government, but you're closest to the people. And you know